Hi, it's Dr. Rick Curry, and in today's lecture, we're going to examine creating a speech or presentation outline. Now, an outline is important as we work on our preparations because it allows us to take all of those thoughts and information that we have in our head and the resources that we've collected, and we can put that information together via the written outline to really help us prepare a roadmap for success. It allows us to clarify our goals and to create that roadmap. So the first step is to start by asking yourself the question, what is my goal? We need to set very clear and specific goals for our presentation. Now, we can ask ourselves a few things. One, are we there to entertain? What is the goal? Are we there to entertain the audience? Are we there to inform them? And for example, to increase our audience's knowledge regarding a specific topic? Are we there to persuade or convince them, affecting change in the audience's attitudes, values, and beliefs? Or possibly do both. We could inform and then persuade. Now, inform first because we're using the premise that one must first be aware of the existence of a problem before they can be persuaded to change behavior or beliefs. Now, knowing and understanding the goal or goals of our presentation allows us to craft the foundation of our messaging. And in school, we traditionally think of this as a thesis statement or a central idea. Now, while identifying a clear goal or goals of a presentation is the first step as we begin preparation, it isn't the only thing we need to be focused on, because equally as important is understanding who our audience is. So we must first have goals, and then we also need to take into consideration, well, who is the audience? And that brings us to step 2, which is to conduct an audience analysis. This just means that we're going to examine or analyze the characteristics and components of the audience, aka the people who will be in attendance. Now, we can do this by answering the 5 following questions. Number 1, who is the audience? Specifically, what are the general demographics of the group? Things like age and gender, race, profession, religion, and while we want to avoid stereotypes or making broad sweeping generalizations about who a group of people are, understanding the basic demographics of a group can help us be more successful in a presentation, especially when we're planning. The second question is, why are they attending? Do they have certain expectations about the things that they are going to hear or learn as they attend the presentation? Are they there freely, or is an organization or institution making them attend? Now, this is an important acknowledgement because it should impact your preparations. It's much harder to gain and to keep the attention of an audience that isn't intrinsically motivated. In other words, it's much easier to speak to a crowd of people who actually want to hear what you have to say versus a crowd whose attendance is coerced or forced. Now, this isn't to say you can't be as successful when speaking to groups whose attendance is mandated. It just means you will likely need to spend some extra time and consideration when choosing both your material and also the style of your delivery. Now, the third question that we can ask in regards to an audience analysis is, what is the purpose of the event? So why did the event planners create, organize, and put this event together? So now that we've given consideration to those elements, we can move to the number 4 item, which I think is probably actually the most important thing that we can ask ourselves when we conduct our audience analysis. And that is, why are you the speaker? In a world of 8 billion people, why were you chosen? Why were you the person that was chosen? So we have an understanding now of who our audience is, and we can revisit at this point the goals that we set for the presentation as we start our outline process. We can then ask ourselves the 5th question, which is, given why you were selected as the speaker, given your knowledge, your expertise, your lived experiences, well, what would you bring to the table, or what can you bring to the table for your presentation that is both unique and valuable? So you can use that information to craft clear goals for the presentation. So you know who the audience is, who's going to be in attendance, what the basic demographics are they there freely, or is someone making them come? What are their basic expectations for things they want to learn? And then most importantly, why were you the person chosen to be the speaker? When you answer those questions, you have a really solid foundation to begin the outlining process in more detail. And this is the fun part. And I don't say that jokingly, because this is where we can practice the process of arrangement. And the really cool thing about being a speaker is always this. It's that as the speaker, we get to choose what information it is that we want to share with the audience. We can take all of those thoughts, all of those ideas in our head, and we get to choose out of that information and the resources and things that we found, what is it that we want to share with the audience. And so we can decide the information. We also get to decide the main points, the supporting materials used. We get to decide the flow and the arrangement of the information as it's being shared. We also get to choose, are we going to use visual graphics? If so, are we going to use a handout? Are we going to use a PowerPoint, maybe a TED Talk or a video to help us in our presentation? What statistics do we use to highlight information? What sources do we lend our credibility to? As the speaker, we have total control over those choices. And then more specifically, we have control over how that material is then arranged in a presentation. So when you think of experts or knowledgeable speakers that you've seen in the past, they always seem to know where they're going with their presentation. And that isn't by chance. This is the key here. This really is the key. They don't just walk on stage and get lucky. That doesn't happen. Preparation is the key. They achieve that success through thoughtful design, thoughtful arrangement of material in the speech, how the speech is structured, and then they accomplish success through the flow of the material. And that's done through meaningful practice. Meaningful practice. Using the resources to practice over and over again, to outline, to go through, to make edits and changes, to record yourself, listen to how you sound and speak, and then implement those changes, to look for opportunities to use vocalics, tone, volume, etc. in your presentation. Remember, public speaking is a skill set. That means with practice and preparation, you too can be successful. Now, 85% of every presentation consists of facts, statistics, examples, quotations, personal stories from our own lived experiences. Now, the most difficult thing for a speaker to do is to narrow the topic, because we naturally want to share more information than we have time for, or truthfully that an audience can reasonably absorb. Now, this especially happens when we're passionate about a topic, and as a result, we attempt to cram way too much material into a short presentation. And this is where the process of selection is important, that we get to choose the most important or relevant information based off of both our goals and the audience's needs. And if we understand that, then that's a valuable tool that can help us be successful. Now, communication coach Alex Leon suggests that, quote, gathering a mixture of supporting materials that balances how you appeal to listeners' hearts and their minds, end quote, is important. He says that a presentation full of statistics will likely bore even the most interested of audiences. And you've probably been a part of audiences where you've experienced this, where so much information was thrown at you that you experienced information overload. And that can actually have not only a negative effect on the presentation, but it can actually make people zone out quicker. They can actually start thinking, if you've listened to my speech anxiety lecture, they can start thinking about one of the 5 things that people think about at any given moment in time, and they may do that quicker simply because you're throwing so much information at them quickly. So as we plan our speech and as we outline and make those preparations, we can include stories important quotes, etc., in combination with statistics and arrange that in a meaningful way. Now, remember, you were chosen as the speaker for a reason. Here's my tip for this. You were chosen as a speaker for a reason. You are likely to feel more passionate about the subject material than your audience is, especially if your audience is being forced to attend. So if their engagement isn't intrinsically motivated. So here's an interesting tip, is that when you gather information to include in your speech, make a note of any statistic, fact, story, etc. that wows you. Because if it wows you as the speaker, someone who is already well versed in the subject matter, then it will almost certainly wow your audience as well. Now, I've already spent probably 15 hours on creating this video to this point, and I'm going to practice a little bit of what I preach here. I could spend a lot more time creating additional content to help you on what to do next in the process, but I run across a really fantastic video example as I gathered information for this new lecture video. And I think he does a really good job. This is Alex Leon, the communication coach I mentioned earlier, on telling us where you should go next in the process.
Step 5, talk it through aloud from an outline. I usually stay seated at this stage and I just talk loud enough so I can hear myself. I make sure I'm at this point in my preparation about 3 or 4 days before my actual presentation. I strongly encourage you to keep your presentation in outline form and don't script it out word for word. And I don't attempt to memorize really any specific wording. If you prepare this way, you'll come across as much more conversational and dynamic when you finally deliver your presentation. And at this step, I don't even try to go through my outline all the way in order yet. I'm just getting familiar with how it might flow. I usually just stumble through it like this about 3 or 4 times before I'm ready to move on. Now, many people I know do not go past this point in their preparation. Usually once they have a rough outline, even just a list of items they want to talk about, and they've mumbled through it a few times, they assume that when the time comes, they'll be ready. But I want you to be bulletproof. I want you to 100% crush your presentation. So here are some extra steps that I follow that will help you really move beyond the average speaker and virtually guarantee a successful presentation. Step 6, revise your notes as you talk through it. So as you're talking through this aloud, like in the previous step 3 or 4 times, you'll notice that certain parts flow pretty smoothly and other parts don't make sense yet. It will very likely feel choppy, and that's totally normal at this stage. But pay attention to what works and what doesn't. I always pause while I'm practicing, make notes, cross things out, and revise right as I practice. So as you do this, realize that certain parts will need a little more, like adding another quote or example to really make it stand out, and other parts might need to be cut. Step 7, stand up and practice. Once I have talked it through from a seated position a few times, and then revised it along the way, I make sure that I stand up and present at least 2 days before my actual presentation. I practice like this a few times. I stand up straight. I start to gesture with my hands when I talk. I go through the whole presentation all the way through, even if I make mistakes. I just recover as best I can, which teaches me how to recover. I even start timing myself to make sure I'm in the rough ballpark of how long I'm planning to speak. I usually rewrite my notes so they're simple, clean, and easy to see just by glancing down. By this point, I want my notes to just be bullet points, just keywords and reminders. The only sentences I ever write out fully are important direct quotations because I want to make sure I get those right. But 99% of my notes are nothing more than just talking points, single words, key phrases, and I do my best as I'm practicing to just glance down at my notes, and then I keep my eyes up as I practice. Each time I go through it, I'll word things a little differently to keep it fresh and conversational. My goal is never to memorize exact wording. I don't want to sound robotic or like I'm reading. And step 8, I practice a few more times as if it's a dress rehearsal. This is what professional speakers do. The day before, I do this about 2 to 3 times, and I will wake up early and do it one last time the day of the presentation. And when I'm doing a dress rehearsal, I pretend and visualize that I'm practicing in front of actual people. I pretend to make eye contact with people, and I look at my notes only 1% of the time. By this time, I've internalized my content and I know my stuff. I even physically handle my visual aids to get comfortable using them. So if I'm changing my slides, I'll go through those motions and I'll reach over and tap the button so I remember to do it in the real presentation. I revise my notes one last time into whatever final version I'll be using, either note cards or clean looking paper. And I sometimes even put on my presentation clothes to get comfortable in those. I'm also a big advocate of keeping my dress rehearsals realistic. I usually add some distractions, like I'll turn on the TV in the background or practice in front of my wife. If something goes wrong, I just adapt and keep going. You can't control outside distractions in your actual presentation, but you can prepare yourself to handle any chaos with composure. I think to myself, what if somebody walks in the middle and distracts me? What if my visual aid doesn't work? What if they tell me right before I speak I have to cut my presentation down by 15 minutes? What would I cut? I anticipate problems and think through how I might handle those difficulties. And I time myself every time while I dress rehearse just to make sure I'm hitting that target. So if I can finish in the desired time frame a few rehearsals in a row, I know I'm ready. John Maxwell, a famous professional speaker, says that speaking overtime is a crime. So practice with a clock. The clock does not lie. If you have gone through these 8 steps, you are prepared. So which of these do you feel would help you the most? If you added up all of these steps that involve some sort of practice, you'll end up going through your message around 8 to 10 times. And I always recommend practicing at least 10 times. And then you'll usually see your presentation really come together those last few times through it. If you do that, you'll be virtually bulletproof. Until next time, thanks, God bless, and I will see you soon.